the richer got richer because you chose to close down small businesses. You chose to close down, like gyms, convenience, like, I don't know if it's convenience stores, but like quinceañeras, a lot of like party rentals. Like, you chose to close down small businesses, but then you chose to keep open, the Costco's, the Amazons, these big companies. So like, all that, business, that the small business, it pretty much just went to the big guys.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Driven. My name is Alexis.
My name is Juan.
And today we're going to be touching up on a topic. Some people would say it's a very controversial topic still to the day. But it finally happened. We got the Rona.
Yeah, we got the Rona. And I mean, we'll talk about our personal experiences too. But I think one of the main things that, why we're doing this topic is because of, the workplace. And how still, like, people react to it in the workplace.
And yeah, so finally after 3 years, we finally got the Rona. And my experience with that, I know when it started, it was out there. I know like the news media, the news, they kind of made it seem like it was very dangerous. And, to a certain extent, that's, I believe the same thing. And, just following, what they said, the guidelines, start wearing a mask. I started wearing a mask just, because I didn't fully know the full context of the Rona. But, as time went by, studies came out. I know they were pushing the jab for you to get the jab. But, as I dug deeper into more research, like, to me, I kind of wanted to wait to see how it was going to play out, like people getting the jab, the side effects. Because I know when they introduced the jab or, the thing, they kind of like accelerated the process of pushing it out to the masses. And, maybe it was kind of, I just wanted to wait it out. So that's why I didn't get the jab. To this day, I still haven't gotten the jab. And so, yeah, but, fast forward to now, my experience, getting the Rona, I got symptoms starting Monday. And, 3 days later, like the symptoms started getting a little bit more. I got chills and aches. And that was about it. And, my throat a little bit, it was kind of like a little raspy. But that's about it. Nothing major. You saw me. You saw me get sick. So, I mean, I don't think it was too much of a... It wasn't as serious. It didn't hit me hard. I know I was like... The hardest it hit me, hardest, which wasn't even that hard. It was like 2 to 3 days, which was Wednesday, Friday. I mean, Wednesday, it started. It was very minor. Thursday was the heaviest, and then also Friday. And then after that, it's just I got better. And I'm pretty sure it was the same experience for you, no?
Yeah, for me, it was actually a lot milder. So for me, I started feeling the symptoms Friday night. Saturday, I woke up, with like, the symptoms, the coughing, but they were very mild. And so pretty much Friday very mild. Saturday I got some symptoms, but they didn't affect me they didn't affect me, and they didn't inhibit my ability to do stuff and stuff. On Sunday they started getting lighter, and then pretty much my Monday, the only thing that I still was having was kind of coughs, but it wasn't even like painful coughs or anything like that. It was just because I guess of the phlegm that's still in the system. And so like it was at least for me, from personal experience, it was a lot milder than the flu. It was even to like in a points, it was milder than a cold. But that's for me, and I understand that there's some people that don't have any symptoms at all.
Yeah.
And so I understand, but then there's other people that like
it hits them really hard.
But then that's also one of the things that I've seen is when people like they're like, oh my god, I'm sick. I feel so bad. Like just thinking of all the bad things and the negatives. The more they think it and the more they talk about it, like I feel so bad, I can't move, I can't get out of bed, I have so much chills, resting. The more they actually feel it, because for me, I'm like, man, I'm not gonna get sick. I'm not getting sick like that. Like, yeah, this is the Rona, but I'm not getting sick. And so Saturday, I was I was playing around with my son. I was running around, pretty much just doing activity. Because one of the things that I noticed is that when I laid down and I covered myself, like in a half an hour to an hour, I started getting cold. I started getting chills. I started getting like you could say symptoms. I'm like, no, fuck this. And so I started, just going, playing around, running around with my son. And yes, I did still kind of feel it, and so it was a little bit harder, but it not to the point where it was like debilitating. And so like I noticed that the more activity that I did, the better that I felt. And like I said, Saturday and Sunday were really the only days that were very mild symptoms. And after that, it was completely gone. Other than like the flame, you could say. But it was super light. But I understand that people's experiences are different.
Yeah, and that was kind of the same thing for me. Wednesday, the day I took the test, yes, I had the aches, I had chills. But I was good. I felt good. But then, I took the test. I tested positive, so I went home. As soon as I got home, like, I felt a lot worse. It wasn't like really, really bad, but like, I automatically noticed a difference, and it was because I was stationary. I was stationed. Yeah, just being stationary, it definitely affected it.
So that was our personal experience. It was very light. Granted, like, one could say that we're relatively young.
Mm-hmm.
We're relatively healthy. So people could say, that's one of the reasons. But I mean, and then that's a reason to actually go out, work out, and be healthy.
Yep.
We both don't have the jab. We don't have the shot. And like you said, it's with very like I think reasonable like reasons as to why we didn't have it. It was so new.
Mm-hmm.
The test that they did have, it has we don't know the long-term effects of it. And now that we're starting to see some of the long-term effects, I definitely I'm not gonna get that.
Yep.
But and so like and that's one of the things like. Well, one of the things I don't understand is why people were advocating for it so hard.
Mm-hmm.
And then for me, in my experience, just looking back at how the tests are ran or how the the studies are done, it's very like very one-sided, and so like there's always so like I just don't have the confidence I didn't have the confidence in the jab, and I still don't to this day.
Yeah.
But at least that was our personal experiences. But one of the things that also getting it affected it was the workplace.
Yep.
And so like kind of like how was your experience with having it and then in the workplaces, the people that you work with?
Like I mentioned, I tested. I got tested. I tested positive, and just to be a little courteous, like for everyone else, I just like let everyone know like, hey, I tested positive for Rona. How comfortable do you guys feel like me staying here? Going to the other warehouse that's not being used and just working from there. And I know a lot of people, they decided that, okay, I don't feel comfortable. And so like, okay, I agree with it. I stayed home. I went home, and that was the case.
Yeah. And then one of the things that I disagree with is that they look at and as one should, at one's own personal like health and the health of their family. So I get it, but at the same time, I don't think they understand by sending someone's home, you're affecting their life, their and their family's livelihood.
Yep.
Because you're sending them home without pay.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of be like, I understand that, but it's kind of like that's one of the things that I don't think they see.
Yeah, and it's just like I could have just easily stayed, on the other side, just stay there and continue working. But I just wanted to be a little courteous to everyone else, like respect their decision, even though I don't 100% agree with that. Following certain guidelines that are, in my opinion, complete bullshit. But just, being courteous to everyone else. Okay, like I'll just, because I'm still positive, I'll still stay home until I test negative. If you want to follow certain guidelines that, that you think will make you safer, then okay, I'll respect your decision, and I'll follow those guidelines until I test negative. Yeah, so like the following Monday, I came back. I only like just dropped off some packages, and I still went home because they still wanted me to have that negative result. So I went back home, tested myself, tested negative, and so the following day I came back on Tuesday. And I know for you were out Monday.
I was out Monday, Tuesday. I think Wednesday came back, huh?
Yeah, you came back Wednesday.
Yeah, so I pretty much when in terms of like the work, I was only out for 2 days because Saturday and Sunday was when I really got it, but I was out for 2 days, and then from that from when they sent you home, I kind of got a little bit mad.
It's not that they sent me home. I could have stayed there, but they wanted me to wear mask. We didn't even have the N95 mask that it's a little bit better, but it went back to like, okay, if you're gonna feel safe by me staying home, then I'll go home. So that was the whole thing. It's not that they sent me home. It's not like they forced me to. It's more of like, okay, I'm still gonna be courteous to you. Like if you still believe these certain things, I'll still like, just so you feel safe, like to a certain extent, I'll comply with your feelings and your emotions.
Not with logic or facts, or pretty much what the anecdote. I mean, yes, it's anecdotal experience, but pretty much what I think the case is to me.
It was more of feelings, and like I feel this way, not showing evidence, not showing reports or anything. It's just more of like, I don't feel comfortable because I say so. And it's like, okay, I mean, it's like to a certain extent, but like seeing my point of view, like I've seen all the research, I've seen all the data come out. New data is coming out every day, so like I'm keeping up with that. So it's kind of like, okay, like new data is contradicting the old data. So like like being factual and being more of critical thinking, like I'll just set that aside and, follow your feelings, follow your emotions. Just, okay, if you feel comfortable, then, like, I'll let you feel comfortable. But coming back, I know with me, I tested negative, so it was a little bit more, it was more, the reception was a little bit more welcomed. But I know with you, what was your experience coming back?
I got the perception that they had sent you home, right? And so pretty much I just went back. No one told me anything to, go home or to even test. So, yeah. I mean, I think I tested later that day, though, and it was negative. But, yeah, pretty much I did kind of feel like a vibe.
Yeah.
I did feel like a vibe. And so I understand where they're coming from. Does it mean that it's right? I don't think so. But I understand where it was coming from. But yeah, I mean, it was, I just went back to work and I felt a vibe, but then, through time, it kind of just dissipated. And yeah, it was...
Yeah, and I think it goes back to, like, the beginning of the whole Rona situation. I know, like, when they started coming out with the shot, they started, they started having enough to where, like, everyone was... They were kind of being mandated to take it. And I know if you didn't take it, they kind of started putting you in a category. They started dehumanizing you. They said, okay, if you don't have it, then, you can't go out to a restaurant. You can't eat. You can't fly out. You can't go to a concert.
They started treating you as something else other than human. And so, and then looking back at the history, it's kind of like, dude, and the thing is that we read the book Influence here in the warehouse, and I don't understand why they didn't catch a lot of the things that they were feeling or experienced, the past 3 years. And so, if you just look back at the history, how was it that in Germany 1942 or something like that, how did they get the people to kind of comply with the crazy regulations of or the crazy policies going against the Jews? Is because they started dehumanizing them. They started doing all these things that pretty much, if we look at kind of like today's age, that's pretty much
what happened,
what was happening. And so it's kind of like, and then I saw the video that you sent me, and it's pretty much they wanted to start making people look that weren't jabbed as bad people, caring, that you should be treated like you shouldn't be treated at hospitals, like you were pretty much not important. You were like kind of to an extent like you should not die, but you should you're not a human, you're not a citizen of here.
Yep.
And so that's how I felt it.
And adding on to that, I know if you get your information from one side, from the media that's being sponsored, that's their agenda to push out as many, in short words, to make as much profit as possible, and then you're getting your information from the media, you're going to be stuck with that way of thinking. And it's going to be so engraved in you that, okay, the Rona's bad, you should get the jab, you should get the shot, and if you don't, then you're trash. You're less than human. You're very selfish. You're putting everyone in danger. And that sticks with you for a long time. It was mentioned that even though you present this new information to people with updated information, updated research, it's hard to change someone's opinion. Yeah. And it's not, and even the smartest people, it's hard. It's kind of hard to admit that you're wrong. And that's kind of like, my opinion, my perspective of that's kind of like how it felt, coming back. It's like they're so engraved to a certain way of thinking that now it's harder to go back and, be more receptive, be more open to, new evidence coming in.
Yeah, because like I had mentioned that for 3 years, it was pretty much drilled down, down your throat of, bad, Rona bad, this and that, mask coverings and all this. It was for 3 years. It was engraved. And so I think it's so engraved in people that let's say they come out with evidence, they were saying, what, we were kind of, wrong, or we were like, it isn't as bad. It's pretty much like a flu. Yes, let's say older, overweight people, they tend to have, more like, they have it worse. But even like in general, like you're good if you have it.
Yep.
Even with that information, the organizations and whatnot, they come out with that. People are still gonna be like, what? I'll just kind of just to be on the safe side. I'll just still wear a covering, or you should still wear a covering, or you should still stay home.
Yep.
All these things, because it was engraved in the influence was so strong that I think it's just embedded in some people so hard that no matter if they come, like the organizations that say that were in charge of that, they say we were wrong, or we were or it's not that bad. people are still gonna continue with the way of thinking and the way that they had been living for the past 3 years. And so because it was just so strong then, it was kind of engraved in people's head that no matter what they see, they're not gonna take it. They're just gonna go back with what makes them feel good, and what makes them feel safe, and what makes them feel like how they've been living makes themselves feel like they were correct.
Yeah.
And so like at some point, like for me, I'm not trying to convince people. I'm not trying to convince people that it's the Rona isn't that bad. In for the general public, because it's not gonna happen. Even with all the evidence in the world, it's not gonna happen. Even with the organizations, it's not gonna happen. So like, but one of the things that at least I think why it's still so like we're talking about it is because of the workplace and how it affects people and how it affects the workplace and how it limits the ability for the business to do good. Because if you saw for the week that we were out, we pretty much kind of like stalled.
Yeah,
in a way.
Yep.
We stalled, and so and then if someone else gets it, it's kind of be like it affects certain things. And so like I understand like it's preferable if people don't get it because it would affect their work, and not because it the health wise or physical wise, but because it would it would like make people want people to leave or go home or not work. And so that in that way it would affect the work in the business.
Yeah, and just to add on, it did. We kind of, because we were out, everything stopped. I know we stopped producing products for that week, which in hindsight it did push back the business for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It did.
Yeah, and that's something that I think they don't see. They just see like pretty much they don't see how the business performing. If it's performing bad, they don't see that. If it's performing good, they don't see that. I mean, yeah, there's probably more bonuses and more like like eating out and stuff. Like Fridays we everyone the company buys food for everybody. And so they don't see it. They don't see like how the performance is good. And so I think that's why like it's not urgent to them. And I understand because they don't know, but it's like it's not they don't have a sense of urgency like we do.
To a certain extent, I do understand their point of view, because if I was in their position, I would also see it like just another job.
Yeah.
If the company does good, I do good. If it it goes under, if it stops existing, then I'll just get another job. So to a certain extent, I do see their point of view, which it's nothing bad. It isn't anything bad. But like how you mentioned, like they don't see that the more the business does good, the more everyone benefits from it. And the worse it does, then like, okay, if the business starts doing bad, then we're gonna have to lay off people. We're gonna have to start like cutting down on expenses.
Yeah, and so like you were saying that they don't see, and that's fair. That's fair. But because we've saw for the past like in the last year or last year and a half, for 7-8 months, we saw the struggle, and we were even thinking of the different things as to like if the business starts doing worse, let's sell the house, or kind of like even thoughts like that came in. And so they don't see that. And so I get it. I get it. They don't have to think about it. But then at the same time, and that's why they don't think of like kind of like they don't have that sense of urgency. They don't have that, because no one aside from the owners or co-founders are gonna have that sense of urgency that they do. Kind of like I give that example of like even if us, the way we are, the drive and whatnot, we worked at other companies. We will still kick, I would like to think we'll still kick butt, but I don't think it would be as strong as, for example, the owners or the co-founders or the people that are actually own the business. It might not be like, as strong. Yeah, and so like, so I get that, but that's something that maybe in the workplace we could start, kind of like emphasizing that more of like, the sense of urgency and whatnot, which I think we've been trying and doing, but I think it's gonna have to, I'll emphasize it more. But then again, it's not their responsibility. It isn't. And so, yeah. No, and kind of just to talk, just kind of like my 2 cents or my final thoughts, at least on it, that obviously we're not denying that the Rona was real and it existed. And for some people, it was really bad. And, let's say from some people, like, it did affect them to the point of, like, it added or it speeded up the process of them, like passing away. So I understand that. And I do. But granted, it's just like, a lot of people also do pass away from the flu and from like different, like, normal day diseases. A lot of people unfortunately pass away when driving.
Yeah.
I feel like more people, pass away from that than. So what does that mean? You're not gonna like, drive anymore? But that I digress. And so we're not trying to make it seem like it's fake and it didn't happen and it's not like it's not real. But and then I do have the sympathy for the people that do pass away, not because of it, but because it adds to their pre-existing conditions and whatnot. So when I don't want to make it seem like we're heartless to that, and we understand that. But yeah, I just wanted to say that that we do see and understand that it happened.
Mm-hmm.
But if at least in my personal opinion, it was just blown out of proportion.
Mm-hmm.
It was so blown out of proportion. A lot of people's livelihood went away.
Yep.
The richer got richer because you chose to close down small businesses.
Yep.
You chose to close down like gyms, convenience, like I don't know if it's convenience stores, but like like let's say quinceañeras, a lot of like party rentals. Like you chose to close down small businesses, but then you chose to keep open the Costco's, the Amazons.
Yep.
These big companies. So like all that business, that the small business, it pretty much just went to the big guys
that don't need it.
Then and so it's like, and so it was so blown out of proportion. A lot of people's livelihood went down, and I feel like there was more like more passing away from like the depressions, the how unhealthy people got than from the actual Rona.
Yeah.
And so I think it was just completely blown out of proportion. But I understand why people think the way they do, the influence that the organizations have, that the people have, that the people of authority have. So I understand why they think that way. But so I do understand and get it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just wanted to say that it was real, and
yep,
just my opinion, it was blown out of proportion.
Just my final thoughts. It's not that I don't want to take someone's opinion. I don't want to discredit someone's opinion, someone's beliefs. But to a certain extent, you kind of have to start asking questions and trying to get to the root cause. If the media is saying a certain thing, take it with a grain of salt. Do your own research. Start Googling. Start getting information to see if it actually fits to what the media is saying or to what one person is saying. Try to get your information from different sources. Don't just believe a certain way, because a lot of the media is being paid, or a lot of the media is being sponsored. So like if everyone gets the shot, then who benefits from that? It's just do your own research, and like there's a lot of influence principles being put out there that just be more aware.
Read the book Influence, because there's a lot of things that you'll see. And then also just piggybacking off of what you're saying, even the information or facts or even studies, those are manipulated a lot of the times.
Yep.
So even if you see like a study this and that, ask kind of like you gotta get to the core.
Yep.
And so I know a lot, and I know you probably shouldn't use anecdotal experience, but sometimes in our situation it did help. So anecdotal experience of people that of people that have gotten the Rona, like just I think with kind of like what I've seen, like pretty much everything is like manipulated in a way to benefit. So like just like you mentioned, don't get just your resource from one thing. Look at that and look at the studies, look at the research, but even then question the study as to how was this formulated, how was this done, did they choose to omit some stuff, did they choose to just pick and choose certain things. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you mentioned, just do your research, and then and at the end of the day, I think just do what's best for you and your family. Like if you honestly believe that the Rona is bad and this you want to protect that's fair, and that's understandable, but I think just do what's best for you, your career, your work, and your family. I think that's kind of like, which not everyone's gonna agree with. Mm-hmm. And so it is what it is. But
and final thoughts, kind of adding to what you said, that's why we're in the US. We have our rights, we have our freedom, we have the rights to believe certain things, and I'm not taking that away from anyone. If you believe certain things, then by all means go ahead and believe that and act accordingly to your beliefs. But the thing I don't agree is when you try to push your own beliefs to other people, when you try to enforce your beliefs on other people. That's something I don't agree. Just to wrap it all up, this was kind of the reason why we brought this topic for the podcast, is because we experienced this in the workplace. It affected the business, so we just wanted to share our experience. Doesn't mean our experience is the right way. So yeah, that was just the purpose of the podcast, just to kind of like share our personal experience and how it affected our business. But yeah, just let us know your thoughts if you're still being affected by certain guidelines, certain procedures, how you're dealing with it in your business. Just we would like to know. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching. My name is Alexis.
And my name is Juan.
And we'll see you on the next podcast.